Hello, I'm Tommy Moore from the Bartitsu Lab, and in this video I wanted to look at the notion of the wrestler's overhand. Now, when wrestlers transition from wrestling into mixed martial arts or fighting situations, one of the signature things that wrestlers find themselves being able to do very easily and very effectively is to have a dynamite rear hand. Now, so I'm just going to break down what makes that possible and what is it from wrestling that allows that to work so well. And you often find that people that come from a wrestling background, they enter mixed martial arts and they find themselves get a huge taste for and flavour for knocking people out, because what they do in wrestling translates to a delivery of force with an overhand right. So, a wrestler's overhand. When a wrestler is shooting, they'll typically take a penetration step. You'll have to forgive some of the angles here. I don't have the room in my little garage dojo to show you the full element. But if you imagine, with a penetration step, typically you burst in, you lower your level, and you step between the legs of your opponent in a finishing, in almost like a deep lunge. So you end up in this position here, and then you can turn a corner, cut an angle, take down, do whatever you like. But in essence, it's a level change and a penetrative step combined at force, and that then allows me to burst in and deliver underhooks, double leg takedowns, single leg takedowns, whatever you wish to do. The ability to lower my level and burst in, lower and burst, boom. And those movements become so natural to a wrestler that it just becomes second nature and they get really low. I'm staying a bit higher so you can see me here, but boom, you end up very low. Boom, and you end up being to grapple here and turn a corner and do other bits and pieces. When wrestlers find themselves in situations where striking is admitted, where striking is allowed, what they often do is combine the level change, the penetrative step, with the overhand right. So they end up, instead of dropping a level and launching, they're dropping a level and firing. And typically it comes in this kind of swimming fashion. Okay, so some of the things. It actually mimics what we do in pugilism. When we do a drop step off the front leg, we lean forward. We go beyond the point of balance and we hit as we crash. Boom. Boom. And I should be punching him just before my foot hits the ground. So all of the mass is transferred into the man. With wrestlers, with the overhand, it's the exact same deal. They find themselves intuitively, boom, punching just before their foot hits the ground. Bam. Once they've done that, the opponent is sufficiently shook by the mass and power of that shot, because it's got mass behind it, because it's coming with the penetrative step, which is essentially the wrestling cousin to the drop step. The penetration step and the drop step are pretty much the same thing, albeit some are launched at a slightly longer distance. So you find wrestlers being able to do a penetrative drop step and an overhand right very intuitively. And what they also find is that because people are quite scared of being taken down, they focus a lot on the legs. And when they focus on the legs and they focus on the lower portion of the wrestler, or when the wrestler drops his level, they're ready to sprawl and defend. When this punch comes at the same time, some attention, quite rightly, has to be up. Some of the focus, instead of being down, I'll sprawl him, I'll get underhooks, I'll strike him as he comes in, because the penetration step is coming with that wrestler's overhand, some of my attention needs to be up here. Which means that some of the defences I had down low, I no longer have. So that's what makes it very effective for wrestlers, in that once they've done that particular step, the opponent has to split their fear between him grabbing his legs, so me grabbing his legs with my left hand, and me smashing his jaw in with my right hand. Essentially, you've scissored the attack. You've split his defences in two. He has to either worry about being taken down or being bust in the chops. He can't really adequately defend against both unless he's very cool under pressure, unless he's very experienced or he's trained for that particular scenario. So what makes wrestlers very, very effective at the overhand? It's the natural ability to land a drop step, because penetration stepping is the exact same thing. Lowering a level and bursting. Lowering a level and bursting. This right hand naturally flows with that. It naturally flows. So obviously, if you're always going for a double, that is a bit of a problem. You can't land a double and this overhand simultaneously. It's not going to work. But you can get yourself prepared for that double with your left hand. So, starting from here, moving around, penetrative step as the right hand fires, bang! The left hand is now getting to a position where it's behind the knees. We can lift, we can dump, we can cut a corner. So for wrestlers, they find themselves much more naturally aligned to historic pugilism than you might have expected, because of the penetrative nature of their stepping, of their shooting, and how that relates to classical mass-based pugilism. So keep an eye out for wrestlers. You'll see how intuitively they pick up that bomb of a right hand, and how that allows them to discombobulate opponents, because they're worrying about up top and down low, which means they'll either get taken down, or they'll get bust in the chops, or they'll get bust in the chops and then taken down, because their defences are mentally split in two. They have applied essentially what we call in Jiu-Jitsu and Bartitsu kazushi. We've provided unbalancing. Defending two things at the same time is very, very difficult. So that simultaneous threat of the takedown and the bomb of the right hand is very, very hard for opponents to deal with. So if you are predominantly a grappler, take pride in and build ability in your wrestler's overhand. It's a very, very, very useful tool. And even if you're not a particularly natural or intuitive wrestler, get used to the notion, if you are very good at your lead hand pugilistic drop stepping, try on for size the penetration step and the overhand. You'll find it bears fruit, has power, has impetus, and allows you to mix up the striking and grappling game really, really well. Observe lots of wrestlers, how they strike, and see how they align those things together. Because for my particular area of study, Bartitsu, it's all about holistic alignment. How can the wrestling benefit the boxing? How can the boxing benefit the wrestling? How does the jiu-jitsu add as a component to that? A wrestler's overhand is a brilliant way to see those arts combine. A decent shoot, a decent drop step, a decent strike, and a decent setup for a grapple, all in one powerful, tried and tested series of movements. Give that a try, give that an explore, play with it. Cheers.